Okay, so when you have different types of evidence, right? One of them is biological evidence, which is basically like blood or DNA. You think boogers could be used as it too, bro?
No, dude.
Like,
It could be, but
bro, imagine if boogers were. I mean, I feel like it could.
it could.
Because that's like part of your like
bodily something.
biological
Yeah.
stuff. Okay, so when it comes to blood and DNA, right? They're mainly used with like the sample sticks,
Mhm.
right? The sample sticks, and they're put into like little plastic things. And the thing to like really make sure on is like to make sure that it's not like all like wet and stuff,
Yeah.
because then the shit just gets moldy and bad, and then your just evidence is just it's just bad. So you want to take care of your evidence too. Any type of evidence you want to like treat it like it's a priority to like you want to treat it like it's fragile, because like if you mess up with that stuff, because it's like old stuff, right? Like it could just go to shit.
Even the person, like he was talking about evidence, even the person handling it should always wear gloves,
Yeah.
some sort of type of equipment, so
Yeah.
that they don't get any of their fingerprints.
Yeah.
With
And sometimes I feel like a mask, when it just depends on like certain type of evidence, like wear a mask too. Like if you sneeze on it or whatever, like if you cough or you like like do something like that, you're like saliva or like whatever can just get on the evidence, and now you're a part of it too. So so always like whoever's jotting down evidence to make sure you're like protected yourself, so you don't get all your stuff on the evidence. But yeah, and then when it comes to like DNA sampling,
they should always package the evidence. Use a bag, anything that can protect the evidence from the elements. There's various type of methods, sort of, like you mentioned, ways to, like, fingerprints, blood. One method that he mentioned in class, or that you mentioned in class, was using like glue for 3D prints when it comes to fingerprints, if I remember. And then another thing was tape, I think, but maybe not. But
okay, so another one is trace evidence. So that's like hair, right?
Yeah,
like
hair.
stuff with hair, and what else?
Follicles
and hair follicles,
Yeah.
bro. That's the same thing. Stuff like that. So like when it comes to like getting stuff like that, like obtaining that like as evidence, you can use like tweezers. They use tweezers and they put it like in these like little like plastic things or like paper things,
Yeah.
right? Paper folds.
Paper bags.
Yeah. So, and then cause like I feel like trace evidence is really important too, especially with hair. When it comes to hair and stuff like that, like any type of like hair follicles, you got like your top hair, like my eyebrows hair, my facial hair.
Yeah, and you also want to
my arm hair, like all types of hair.
Even when it comes to with evidence, you want to avoid any cross contamination. Like I said, gloves, anything that prevents you from leaving a mark.
Yeah. What if your hair falls out and it
Yeah.
gets mixed with the other hair, and then you like seal everything up and your hair is there, so it just kind of just messes up that piece of evidence that could have been useful in your case. So that's another thing. I mean, the bottom line is to always be protected.
Another thing that you mentioned in class is like, if you're a detective or someone who's working on the case and you're investigating it, and there's something that you mess up, like let's say you properly didn't secure or labeled anything correctly, but you just want to hide it, put it under the rug, you should always tell your person who's in charge, your sergeant or your superior, that you messed up. Otherwise, it's going to be a bigger issue, and your name's going to randomly be in the case because they might think you're involved. And you should always be professional. And if you mess up, you should always come forward and make it better than it is.
Have you read that one? One of his classes for criminal law? Like there was a podcast about what's it? It's about, you remember the West Memphis 3? You know that shit, right?
Yeah.
You remember in the beginning when the detective he took that knife? You remember that guy in the bar, the guy that was all bloody? You heard the podcast, right, when you were in his class?
Yeah. He didn't properly something about the crime scene. It wasn't properly like it was it because it wasn't like properly
No,
It did-
you remember the guy that from the black dude that went
Mhm.
in the bar, right? And he had like fucking just blood all over him, right?
And he left the bathroom a mess.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
everything,
yeah. So one of the detectives, he took a sample of that
Oh,
blood
yeah,
with his
yeah.
pocket
And he
knife,
didn't
right?
properly do the whole thing.
Yeah, he lost it.
Mhm.
He didn't properly. So when it comes to stuff like that, I feel like that blood sample, he should have really.
At Bojangles, it was at the Bojangles bathroom.
Yeah, the Bojangles bathroom. So when it comes to stuff like that, cause that still like messes with me from the criminal law class, like that evidence was lost.
Mhm.
So that evidence, what could have been so crucial in that case. So that evidence, like they should have sealed it properly. You know, they should. Like, why just put it in a, just leave it on a knife and just forget about it. You know, like actually take the stuff that you put biological evidence in and like, you know, make sure everything's sealed and you have the date, the time and everything and like all the information about it, like, you know, like then it won't make it seem like it's so hard to lose, you know, like then you don't really have an excuse to lose the evidence and then not care about it later. Because like when bro he said like in one of the episodes that he was like, oh, I lost it, my bad, and they just went on with their day.
Even when it comes to evidence, you should still take pictures. Always take
Yeah,
pictures.
any type of evidence, like even if you use even if you take personally, like say if I'm a detective, right, and they're doing all the evidence stuff and like investigations, and I just feel like maybe that would be something, right, and I don't tell anyone, I just do it on my own, and I'm still a detective, I'm like myself, and I just do it on my own without like everyone else doing it, like say with that blood, like he just casually, just like, you know, maybe that could be useful. He just took the pocket knife and took the blood. You know, he should still like understand like the legal way, not like the legal way, but like the way that they do it, like professionally. He should have still, you know, labeled it and put it in sealed it up and like make sure like it was, you know, properly handled, not just like just leave it in his pocket and just forget about it. You know, he should have made sure that it was actually sealed and it was in, you know, chain of custody or whatever, so it wouldn't have gone lost in the first place. Because that's like another example, like if you don't really, with any type of evidence, if you don't properly handle that evidence, like if it gets lost, that could really mess up the case or really give like a lot of downsides to not figuring out what really happened. Because ever since he lost that piece of evidence, we never heard from that dude again.
Another thing, like you're mentioning about evidence, there's different types of evidence, like a footprint or a fingerprint.
Yeah, so many types, and all these factors like on how to like handle evidence and how important it is to seal evidence. It goes with everything, any type of evidence.
But it's not only sealing the evidence, it's also trying to correctly, like if you have a footprint and you want to take it to court so that they can physically see or match it to the suspect, you want to be able to preserve the evidence by using some sort of method of collecting the footprint or like the foot impression. Like it could be some dude with big feet, and you'll want to basically get the footprint to potentially get the suspect by, because you'll see what type of shoe it is, their feet size that will basically tell a lot about the person, whether they're tall, short, or possibly age based on height.
I think like when it comes to stuff like that, it's mainly like obtaining it as evidence. You can't actually like physically pick it up or put it in a bag or anything, like when it comes to biological stuff or like the other like trace evidence stuff. With this, I think it's like high contrast like pictures. Like you just gotta take a really solid, nice picture of it, and then like people in forensics and all that other stuff, they can actually examine like all the stuff about it and see like what type of shoe it is, what brand it is. Because I remember, bro, like in Forensic Files, they would do shit, you know that show Forensic Files, they would do shit like that, and they would take like a big shoe print and they could literally like tell like it's a Nike Air Force One, you know, and like what size it is, and like the even sometimes they would understand like what situation it was in. Like say if it was like it was like skeeted off, like off dirt, like say if it was like slippery, or if it was like a full on like like a stomp or
Yeah,
stuff like
same
that.
thing goes with
Like
tire
yeah,
prints,
yeah,
you know,
like the print itself on how it looks like from the picture, it can really like give, information on how that picture looks like that picture, like how the print looks like that.
and
Because prints looks like different things like in different type of situations. You know what I mean?
yeah, and more on that, we also learned that there is databases for this, where you can look if it's a car, maybe the potential brand of the tire, if it's any sort of like fabric, any sort of physical evidence. You can go to the database to look it up and get more information to see where it came from. Like I said, tire, the print, all
That's
that.
why it's so crucial,
Yeah.
like to like actually take a really good solid picture, because it'll help out so much. Because if you just take a bullshit like fuzzy picture, just regular picture like off a phone or just a really bad camera, they won't be actually be able to see the details, like the little like details that we can't see but they can. They won't be able to see it, so it won't really help us, try to figure out what it is, or like help us lead on to like the situation itself, right?
Yeah. So, regarding to the case that I'm going to talk about, a connection that I have to mishandling evidence is the O.J. Simpson case. When it comes to evidence, the people investigating this, the forensics team, the officers at the scene, they should properly handle, secure, label any sort of evidence. Like like in the O.J. Simpson case, he was acquitted from all charges. A lot of the defense team, they got a good case on this because there was mishandling of blood evidence that was collected from the crime scene. Because of that, they couldn't really get a good DNA and see who it really was. So, for instance, this can impact the whole trajectory of the case and the reliability of the whole evidence as a whole, because of how the evidence was properly mishandled. Another thing is that the thing that they argued was the officers saying that they were racist, but that's another thing. But in general, just how this case was handled, and the prosecutors at one point, they tried having O.J. Simpson put on the glove, which it didn't fit, of course, and it was kind of weird to have him put on the glove, because that can basically derail the whole case. And because of that, he was acquitted of all charges. There was various different factors that contributed to this case of the mishandling.
Dude, that case was like insane too. I even saw like video footage of like the whole like chase. It wasn't at Cali,
Yeah.
right? It was in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like insane. Like it was a big situation, right? And I just feel like, man, like when it comes to these big situations, like, and then you don't really like handle the evidence professionally and properly, like you're like honored to do so as a law enforcement officer, detective, whatever. Like, like it just, like the pressure is there on you, so you gotta like walk in and like actually take the time and effort and use the training tactics that you were trained in academy or whatever, and like actually apply them to the work, right? Because like, man, evidence is like a big thing when it comes to actually finding a suspect too. Like with these prints, like especially with shoe prints, like in a certain place that a crime happened, like say if I got killed on a farm, right, and there's a bunch of prints of like someone's boot, right, that it could lead to a potential suspect that someone was there. They might know something that happened, or they might be the one that actually killed me, right? So it just like evidence is really crucial to actually figuring out what happened, and like evidence just can be like, it can be messed with, like you got to really treat it as the first priority to like figuring out what happened. That and like statements and all that stuff, like evidence is a big factor.
And also another thing is about the O.J. Simpson case is that when it came to the blood fingerprints, because they weren't properly collected, the credibility of that whole evidence collection basically just thrown out the window, and the challenge of the whole, like I said, of the evidence not being useful, and the jury just changing their whole mind, like, oh, this guy is not guilty, of course, because of how terrible this case went.
Just pretty much based off evidence like that.
Yeah.
That's the that's what I'm trying to say. Like the biggest thing with evidence is like you can't mess with it because evidence can really mess the case up, bro. Like it can really like the charges would drop because of the evidence, right?
Yeah, if you can't properly link evidence to someone, then the whole foundation of that case is useless unless you have other sort of acquitting information or evidence.
Yeah.
And when it comes to this case, or in general, there should be professional standards that investigators need to follow when it comes to prints, blood traces, biological, physical, and collecting evidence in general. Pretty much, yeah.
Man, that applies to like every case too. Like, like always handle it properly. Like, okay, so when it came to Taylor's thing, with the glove, how do they deal with the glove? Like, talk about the glove.
Yeah.
Like what type of evidence, like, not type of, like, how, because you have like the biological
you
evidence.
obviously can't have the suspect put the glove on like the O.J. Simpson because that's gonna mess with the whole DNA inside of the glove. But
no, but like, do you know how they handle that glove? Like, like when we have you have biological evidence, you have trace evidence,
physical,
and then physical.
Yeah.
So they use that as physical.
Yeah.
So how do they like take that glove and like put it? Do they put it into an evidence bag?
Yeah.
They did?
Because then, if I remember, I think they said that like in order to get some sort of evidence, but it's also very difficult to get the DNA from a glove because of there's a lot of fingerprints when you're putting a glove on.
Yeah.
And it could also deteriorate fast because of it depends also on the type of glove. If it's like a food glove or if it's the blue glove that nurses and doctors wear, these gloves, when you put them on, your sweaty hands will mess with the whole DNA print, making it a lot more difficult for analyzing the DNA on the glove.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's a lot of important factors when it comes to that.
Yeah. And like fingerprints too. Those are a big key point for evidence. Because that could get you a lot of answers too. Like fingerprints itself is not used just for evidence. Like it's used for documentations of you yourself. Because I remember back in class, that lab we had, like, remember that lab we had, that postcard, your name, and like, it's like if you get booked or something, right? Or just for identification, you put your prints on there.
Yeah, like if an officer properly doesn't like put their finger down to get their prints, and
yeah, if the prints messed up, like that could really, mess things up too. So that's just how I feel like when it comes to fingerprints and like all types of evidence, like you gotta really be careful with it because it can really mess up a lot of things for your case, like how it did with O.J. Simpson. Like the evidence was just it was poorly handled.
Yeah. If
right?
we also want to relate this back to another thing when we did in class, Jack the Ripper, when officers, they didn't have much knowledge about this, but because of how they didn't do much to properly investigate thoroughly, this guy is still unknown. We don't know his identity, but because of how the crime scene, they didn't really preserve any sort of evidence at the crime scene. Blood, no blood samples were collected.
Yeah.
Like when she was killed, when one of the girls was killed in her room, no blood samples were.
Yeah, there was like hardly any, especially even with West Memphis. Like they just, you know how like they just like went off like accusings of like just like picking people and be like, oh, you did it because of this and this and this. They didn't actually have any solid evidence to like to really to like actually give a reasonable suspicion to actually arrest the person and have him as a potential suspect. That's how crucial evidence is. And
physical, biological.
Yeah, it all counts. Like anything helps in a case. All of them. Prints, trace evidence.
Methods that you're using to properly collect the evidence.
Like
always dusting for prints that we did in class. When it depends on the surface too. Like if it's a metal surface, I believe, or somewhere where like, because your hands, they sweat, you might leave a print, or like on your phone screen, you leave a print.
That's all counted as like trace evidence, right? Oh, I remember this guy. He was saying, if you like leave, like say if I bit into like a candy bar, right? And then
Or even
I throw it
Jenkins,
into the
yeah.
trash, that could be used as evidence
Yeah.
too, right? Like they could like search the trash bags and all that stuff to like, it's just like stuff like, can you explain it? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, like another example that he said regarding that was basically they were trying to catch a guy and he drank something out of a can and he left his saliva on there, but also his prints on the can that is useful for detectives to basically connect his DNA to potential suspect.
Yeah,
Or
and
the
when it comes to
database.
evidence like that, like you don't need a warrant to go search for
'Cause
that
it's already
stuff.
garbage.
It's already garbage, so it's
already
like
thrown out.
it's to the public. Like anyone can do whatever they
Mhm.
want to it. It's not, you know, you don't need a warrant for that stuff. I feel like that type of stuff is really crucial to like figuring out, you know, to get some answers in the case, because like people don't even think about stuff like that, you know, especially like, you know, like I could easily drink something and all my DNA is all on it, you know, and it can just be used as evidence to kick me in the ass in court, and I don't even realize it, you know. So yeah, man, like all these types of evidence is really crucial to like figuring out, I mean, to like gain answers in a case, you know. I feel like the biggest like a thing, like I feel like the most powerful one would honestly be trace evidence.
Yeah, DNA.
Yeah, biological evidence
fingerprint.
and trace evidence, and like fingerprints and stuff, and like footprints, like stuff like that. Like those are crucial too. But I feel like
Yeah, like
in
if
a
you leave
most
a fingerprint at a crime scene, then it's very questionable.
yeah, I feel like in the most case scenario, like I feel like trace evidence can really get detectives like some
Mhm.
answers, right? Because like
For
it's
sure.
pretty much things that people don't realize what they're doing, or like realize like what their self could lead on to, like especially with hair follicles. Like they
Yeah.
don't realize the hair could fall somewhere, or they like rub their arm on a wall, or like touch a wall, flip a switch on the light, or like, you know, touch the table or
Yeah,
something.
like when it comes with evidence, we learned various different like if you're killing someone and you're the way the blood goes, like if you're killing someone, the methods that like if you're using a hammer, they're obviously gonna know because of the trace of the blood. It's gonna be going up.
Yeah, I remember we did that in
Yeah,
the lab
through
the
the
first
lab.
time. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh my god.